Hi, folks. You're with Tassus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about single parent, single mother households. There was recently an announcement, and I saw it, I think, on Fox News, where the United States has more single mother households than any other nation in the world in both absolute and percentage terms. Now, that seems quite astonishing because the United States is also the richest per capita country in the world. So maybe that's coincidence, but let's just have a little look at how this came about and what sort of structural issues are in place that really perpetuate, if not encourage, this sort of outcome. We have to look at it and say it's a tragedy no matter which direction you come at it from. But let's just go through some of the how it all began. Now, it's been a crime, like even going back to the 1800s. It's been a crime for a man to abandon his family and abandon their means for sustenance in particular. Now, the concept is that a man with financial means, he's got a good job and or enough money for the family to get by and do all right. But for some reason, he just abandons them and leaves them destitute and without means of support. He has income. It's not like he's an unemployed labourer with not a penny to bless himself with. He's got a job, he's got means, and so that was considered to be criminal. Has for many years, going back centuries even. So this idea of the man abandoning the family created images, and if you look back in the newspapers, say around say 1880 to 1910, that sort of range, it was automatically assumed that if a man abandoned the family, like a wife and children, then the woman, given the employment opportunities at the time, the woman would have no option other than to become a prostitute. So the imagery, and it's semi-religious, I guess. The imagery was of the fallen woman, and evil men using her, and she getting money from them, and the sort of the miasma of wickedness that surrounds that sort of existence, the fallen angel type stuff. So it was considered almost a biblical context that if the man did abandon her, then she would end up pursuing that sort of occupation, and that would then all morals had disappeared out the window, and everybody would suffer. Society would be degraded, and so on. Now, there's I suppose a subset point to that, but if in the event the man fell on stony times, he got injured, or he went off to try and look for work in another state in the event of a depression, that was okay. But the idea of a guy with a job, with money, with income, abandoning, that was the issue. Now, I don't know how much of that went on. I suppose you could always find an example of it somewhere, but I'm unaware of it. I've never heard of it, nor do I know anyone who's heard of a man just up and abandoning the family like that. But I guess it must happen. But I can't imagine it's widespread. The image that is put about by particularly the feminist lobby is it's not just a man abandoning family, it's a Maserati driving multi-gazillionaire who just suddenly decides for no reason just to walk out the door and not leave a penny for the family, and that's just so far-fetched it's beyond absurd. But that's how they like to sort of caricature the thing. But in the 1960s, that sort of began to change the attitudes. Now, what the feminists wanted, and these were heavily, if you look at all the primary feminists of the time, they were all communists, they're all Marxists. Some had even worked for virulent Marxist anti-capitalist organizations, and they wanted to put forward this idea that women were being abandoned left, right, and centre by high-income earning husbands who wouldn't care for them, wouldn't leave them any money, wouldn't give them any money, and so on. And whilst these multi-gazillionaire men ran around living the life of playboys, just the numbers wouldn't stack up. The amount of men that had the income that these women were sort of touting would have been 1 in 1,000. So if half of them were abandoning their families, then you're looking at 1 in every 2,000 men. So it's hardly something that requires a forceful government response, or so you'd think. Now, the feminists who were pushing for very strict laws on what was later to become, child support, alimony, that sort of thing, pushing very strict laws that would be uniformly applied, so the woman wouldn't have to take it to court. Instead, she could go to a government agency and they would do all the legal stuff, the litigating, chasing the guy down, garnishing his wages and all this sort of stuff. These women who are at the forefront of it were well, I'd say about 80% were Jewish. Half of them were lesbians, and all of them were Marxists. And I'm talking about people like, Betty Friedan, Shulamith Firestein, Ellen Levine, and others, Hester Eisenstein, the list goes on, and Kate Miller. So all these women were the ones pushing for it. They're mainly from New York and around, but they pushed it into California because of the communal property ownership law, where they figured that they had the best go there. But the assumption was that the split in any relationship was to be considered as being tantamount to abandonment by the man, whether the woman left the relationship or what, irrelevant. It was to be treated as being abandonment, and therefore government action was required to go and make him pay, as they said. So that was the sort of the beginning of chasing down the child support or the child support laws, alimony, that type of thing, and it's meant to be relative to the guy's income, but then they would sort of play around with it and say, well, it was relative to the needs of the child. So even a guy on a low income could be forced to pay a very large part of his wage in child support or alimony, so much so that he couldn't live. So it never was really particularly functional. It was always very ideological, as I say, driven and constructed by angry Marxist lesbians, Jewish lesbians primarily. So that was the initial go there. But so why are there so many single mother families today? Well, it became more attractive to file for divorce because you didn't have to go through the legals yourself. You'd have the government effectively do it all for you. So it became an easy thing to do, or far easier than it had been. Also, in any sort of relationship where there are debts and there are, you're trying to get ahead, there are children, there are disappointments, there are setbacks. You have to really be heavily focused on the bigger picture and the future and keeping things together. And if there's an easier way out, some people will take it. And if the easy way out means you get to keep the kids, you get to keep the house, and you get an income for many years into the future, then that's not such a bad option. And you get rid of someone that you maybe you're getting a bit bored with. But let's have a look at how it works as to how, again, we're trying to address how there's so many single mother families. So if a woman wants to file for divorce, she can go to like the local welfare, social security type office, and they've got legal aid lawyers in there. Some of them who specialise in divorce law or filing divorce paperwork. If not, then there'll be one close by. There'll be one, just round the corner or down the road or something that'll be easy to get to. Now, these legal aid offices that specialise in divorce are often the best funded of all the legal aid departments. They are populated by the same sort of people that initially pushed for divorce. They're men-hating, family-hating, Marxists, anti-capitalist, most of them, not all, but or many. I don't know about most, many. I would think most, a majority, but many are lesbians. They're activists. They're street marching, placard waving activists, black rights activists. They're all sorts of. It's a very activist sort of thing, and they're technically lawyers, but they'll have some fourth tier bullshit arts law degree or sociology law degree, and they're paid shit money, and they're angry at the world, angry at their situation. White supremacy's everywhere as far as they're concerned. Straight white males are evil. Capitalism's evil, and so on. So they're the sort of people that are there. So a woman goes in, and she's got maybe no real case or no real grounds. They won't try and talk her out of it. They won't try and send it to some sort of arbitration or anything like that. They'll prime her and go, he's an asshole, he's a bastard. We'll make him pay. Don't you worry. Has he got a house? We'll get the house for you. What will it cost me? The woman said, nothing. We'll make him pay. And well, what about this? And they go there. If I take him to court and he's going to get upset, and then I won't have his cooperation. We'll make him cooperate. We'll make that motherfucker, damn bastard, cooperate. Damn straight male, whatever. We'll get him. We'll make sure he pays. And this is the sort of language these people use. So the woman's encouraged to, led by the nose. Now, unless she's particularly sensible and reasonable, then she's going to go along with this. So, the basic questions: is it going to cost me? No, we'll make him pay. Well, what will I have to do? Nothing. We'll take care of it for you. So the legal aid lawyer says, let me tell you, Shanika, it's going to help your case if you say that he was violent. So are you telling me he's violent? Oh, no, he's not violent. No, Shanika, if you say he's violent, then that I can guarantee you will get custody of the children, and you'll get this, and that. And then, okay, yeah, all right, yeah, I'll say he was violent. Doesn't matter, he won't go to prison. It's just enough to make sure that the judge and the court gives you more, and so you get more. Oh, well, but it's not true. I'm telling lies here. Well, what about perjury? What about if the judge? No, don't worry about it. The judge won't do that. The judge, no, look, it's okay. That won't happen to you. Well, what if he says this? Oh, what if he commits perjury? No, we'll fucking nail his ass to the floor. But if you commit perjury, that's all. So there's a lot of encouragement, a lot of, we're here to help you. We're here to make it possible, make it easy for you. We're here to grease all the wheels. We're here to make sure that you get the outcome you want, and that he pays for everything. That's what we're here for. But look, Shanique, men have been oppressing women for centuries. You're only getting back what they've taken from you from centuries ago. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that sounds right. Yeah, Shanique. So, and so on. So a lot of encouragement. A lot of these legal aid lawyers are salespeople. They're selling the idea of that divorce is wonderful. You're better off without him. He's an asshole. Was he oppressing you? Did he ever ask you how much money you spent on so and so? Yeah. You see that's our oppressors do that. So and again, unless the woman's particularly sensible and reasonable, she'll fall for that crap, and it'll all seem like, oh yeah, wow, okay. Well, if the government's helping me do it, it must be right. So they're being ushered into, or encouraged to take proceedings further. Now, in the real world, Shanika would have to pay for it herself. She'd have to do all the paperwork. She'd have to make all the arrangements. She'd have to do everything, and that's a lot of work. And so, when you're faced with that much work, suddenly the easier option is to stay and try and say, well, what can I do to make the relationship work? Maybe I need to do this, or maybe I can change my behavior in that way. Maybe I should talk to Jerome again, and just see if we can, cut some sort of a deal, or work something out, or maybe if he gives up going to the bar and grill, I'll give up doing going to the hairdresser. I don't know. Just that they sit down and try and work it out. But when it's an easy option where you're being encouraged, led by the hand, led by the nose, for goodness sakes, by government employees, then why would you take it? Now, as it moves along into the sort of litigation type phase, where there are preliminary hearings and directions hearings, as they're sometimes called, then again, she'll be encouraged. We're looking after you. Don't be afraid. If you even in the meetings where Shaniqua and Jerome are there, the judge or the junior judge will say, now, Shaniqua, if Jerome makes you feel uncomfortable being here, if you're concerned about him, we can make him leave. I can call security and get Jerome removed. There's a couple of big dudes come along and they're going to drag Jerome away. All she has to do is say the word. That's it. Jerome's out of there. So then she realized, gee, I can say anything and it'll be taken as true and factual. Whatever he says is ignored. He's just treated as if everything comes out of his mouth is a lie. That's how ideologically structured these sort of things are. So again, she's encouraged to go along with it, to go through with it and go to the next phase. Meanwhile, because Jerome's being treated like shit all the way through, he's being encouraged to just give up. Just give up. Don't fight it. Just give us what we want. Do what we want and we'll leave you alone. But if you resist or you disagree, then we will crush you. And don't think due legal process or the rule of law is going to save you in here, buddy. This is ideological and we're going to screw you. So that's the thing. Now, again, only a sensible and reasonable one will go, not sure I like a look at this. But for many, they go, gee whiz, I've never felt so powerful in my life. And they'll go through it. So these are the sorts of encouragements that they now. Let's suppose it gets to court. Now again, we're looking at a very ideological court. It's a full hearing. This idea of due legal process and so on is laughable in this sort of jurisdiction. So if the woman's case is very weak, for example, the judge will actively engage in leading the witness and supporting the woman's case and doing disallowing the man's evidence and shutting the court early before the man can call his witnesses. They will engage in numerous different devices to prevent him from making his case. But and I've witnessed these sorts of things. One was so the woman's in the witness box. Do you want to tell me that Jerome was violent towards you? Oh no, he was never violent. No, Shaniqua, you want to say that he did raise his hand to you at least once, didn't he? Oh, yeah, right, yes, okay. Shaniqua said yes. And Shaniqua actually hasn't said yet. So effectively, the judge not only leads the witness, but invents evidence, which is then dutifully recorded. So suddenly now Jerome's a violent oppressor and this sort of thing. Well, you're only going to see the kids once every 3 months, motherfucker. And so these are the things. Now, with all these encouragements and incentives to pursue a case through, to initiate it and to pursue a case through, all at either the taxpayer's expense, or if Jerome's got enough money or anything like that, at Jerome's expense. So they take everything that he's got that isn't nailed down, and that too, and to pay for what's nothing more than an ideological show trial. And but what does she sort of really achieve by this? Well, she's got some money, but someone who's that stupid to allow herself to be drawn into such an ideological, absurd show trial game probably isn't going to be very careful with money and is going to blow it all. Certainly most will. And then we'll be back sort of on the street within a year or two anyway. So not a whole lot's being achieved. Meanwhile, Jerome's, got no incentive really to work anymore. The conservatives and a lot of people, some Democrats too, say, well, if the tax rate's too high, people have got no incentive to work. So, the higher we put the tax rate, the fewer people think there's an incentive to work. So the same applies to things like alimony and child support. I mean, some people are paying 80% of their income. That's 80% of their income in child support and alimony. And then the people go, the child support folks and the people in alimony agencies, that sort of thing, debt collection agencies, they just can't work out why. They just, I wonder why the guy doesn't work. Doesn't he want to help his children? And it's like, you're taking 80% of his fucking income. He can't even afford to. He can't even afford to drive around the block with what he's got left. So these are the things. So when we look at the why there are so many single mother households, this is a very big issue here. Instead of trying to sort things out in relationship with people used to do, not that every single relationship was perfect, it wasn't, but to sort things out as they do and make an effort and try harder to see the good in people and things like that. When you've got an easy way out with in some cases quite a handsome reward, then a lot of people are choosing to take it. Now, the other thing is the amount of, particularly in government departments and things like that, the amount of anti-male propaganda and anti-male sentiment. And I've seen, happily married people where she goes to work for some government department that's rabid and ideologically fanatic in their hatred of men and families, Marxism. Within a year or two, she's filing for divorce as well because I never knew how much I was oppressed. Similarly, going through a university and that sort of thing, a lot of girls and even in high school, a lot of girls are being plied with the idea of that women are being oppressed and have been oppressed, continue to be oppressed. It's the patriarchy, this sort of thing. So their desire to tolerate, well, not tolerate even, their desire to make an effort to make a relationship work isn't there, because the minute something happens they don't like or they don't get what they want or something like that, then they see that as, well, there you go, proof of the patriarchy. That screaming angry lesbian teacher, she was actually right all along. It's that damn straight white male patriarchy, and I'm not putting up with that. I'm going to head out the door and that sort of thing. So really the certainly where property and wealth is involved, the majority of middle class property and wealth, the vast majority of relationships are ended by women. Now, in the case of looking specifically at the case of blacks, where there's a heavy overrepresentation of more than double the rate of single mother households than in white households. There was a thing on TV. A woman had been arrested. A black woman had been arrested. I think it was in Baltimore, and she was 26 years old and had 5 children with 5 different men. And you think at 26, you got to be kidding me. But there you go. I don't know if she'd been married at any time. I'm not sure about that. That's possible. But for someone, a low IQ person, not keen to work very hard and couldn't get a well-paid job anyway, the amount of benefits that she gets from having that many children in free housing and food stamps and all sorts of things, it actually makes her better off to do that than say being single and working in the chicken shop, the takeout chicken shop. So there's a lot of incentive for lower quality students and lower IQ people to go down that path. And given the amount of benefits available, unless she's got an unusually high income earning black man as a husband or partner, then if he's just earning a minimal wage, then he's got almost less appeal financially to her than her being married to the government, in effect, given the benefits. So this is a big thing for black communities. Similarly, a lot of the jobs that black men worked at, even if they were the lower end on the manufacturing scale at the factory, a lot of those jobs have gone. Places like Detroit, the Rust Belt, that sort of thing. A lot of those jobs are gone. So there are fewer and fewer black men at the lower end, even who have the sort of money that makes them a theoretically attractive partner, particularly when they're competing with the government. But until the marriage contract is viewed as a contract, and if you want to break it, you need a damn good reason to do it, not some invented ideological bullshit reason that's dreamed up by gender studies departments, but an actual reason. Then it's almost worth giving relationships in trouble some sort of benefits to keep them together in terms of the continuity of care, and you have children having fathers and so on. Feminists say, well, why do children need fathers? Because all the fathers are wicked oppressor, males, patriarchy, anyway. So it's better we get rid of them so that we can feminize the boys and have them wearing dresses and butch up the girls so that they know that those damn patriarchy is going to be dealt with and so on. So again, the ideology comes back in rather than the practical reality of what do we have to do to make this work. And but when you've got so many people committed to destroying the family, as the Marxists always have been, when you get that many people committed to it, then all the organs and apparatus of the social welfare system that's meant to be supporting people is actually dead set and dedicated to in various ways, such as the legal aid representatives encouraging women to go ahead with divorce action, and promising it's all going to be free and it's all going to only benefits and nothing else. Then as long as we have that, then we're going to have a situation where America has more single mother households than any other country in the world in both absolute and percentage terms, which is terrifying, really. But it goes to show the misspending of government money on ideological fanaticism that's aiding and abetting the destruction of the family. You've been with Tassus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.